The Dallas Mavericks made the dumbest trade in NBA history just under 2 weeks ago. They had a really promising start with AD where he looked back to 2020 form, but then he got hurt, and many in Dallas internally are fearful that it would actually end up being a season-ending injury. So this is already a disaster, it seems, out of the gate, but to be fair, we are going to look at this from all angles and take a look at Dallas's first game, and to this point, only game with Anthony Davis against the Houston Rockets. We're going to be looking at some of the positives because ultimately, if Anthony Davis does return and is healthy, this is a team that is maybe not a serious contender in the Western Conference, but at the very least a team worth considering. That'll especially be the case with a year of retooling and ideally some actual long-term health. But don't worry, if you're looking to see me hate on the Dallas Mavericks, we will be getting to that momentarily. Before I get into today's video, I want to talk about our sponsor, Factor. If you're like me, a person who's always busy with work and life, then you probably don't have an ideal diet. Generally speaking, for me, eating consistently and eating well have been extremely difficult in the past. Fortunately, today's sponsor, Factor, makes both so much easier. Factor is more affordable than takeout and even more convenient with fresh, never frozen meals delivered right to your door. Then it's only 2 minutes in the microwave and your meal is ready. If you have a hectic schedule like me, being able to prepare something quickly like you can with Factor really makes it easier. Factor is also very customizable with over 35 meals to choose per week, and you can specify options to your dietary restrictions. There are calorie smart options if you're trying to lose weight, keto options if you're dodging carbs, and protein plus if you're getting back in the gym. Factor eliminates the hassle of prepping, cooking, and cleaning up. Simply heat and savor the good stuff. Head to factor75.com or use the link in the description and use code 50ALSO-RUSTY to get 50% off of your first Factor box. Again, that is code 50ALSO-RUSTY to get 50% off of your first box. And a huge shout out to Factor for sponsoring this video. Hello everybody, welcome to Also Rusty Buckets. If you're over on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and drop a like. Also go check out our new third channel called Little Rusty Buckets. We just did a video on the Zach LaVine trade. Actually, there's another one that I'm planning on doing today, I think, about Manas Buzelis that should be out soon. So yeah, look out for that. Top link in the description will be one of those videos. Also, we are going to be changing the name of this channel to Rusty Buckets and changing the old channel's name to NBA Deep Dive with Rusty Buckets. So hopefully that's not confusing. Either way, you'll see my name. You'll figure it out. But yeah, big stuff coming around the corner. It was supposed to happen earlier, but I've had a very hectic start to the year. Getting to the topic of the video, first things first, let's go ahead and review some of the footage. For what it's worth, Anthony Davis looked great when he actually got to play for the Mavericks. Remember, this is a film breakdown, not a game recap, so I'm really only trying to highlight stuff that is related to this trade, specifically the impact of Anthony Davis, how Kyrie Irving looks as a lead ball handler, as well as Max Christie, who has been the one overwhelming positive for the Mavericks out of this trade. Okay, on this first play here, we have an entry pass to Anthony Davis, and a quick rotation over from Şengün because Jalen Green is obviously not a good matchup, but he overhelps and AD is able to throw the lob to Daniel Gafford, even with the late contest from Amen Thompson. Anthony Davis playing the power forward spot again is really fun. I like that for him, even if sometimes I think he just needs to get over the fact that 9 times out of 10 he is going to be most effective at the center position. It is nice that he is at least getting that which he has been requesting for a long time. Here, after a failed attempt at the up and under by Şengün, Anthony Davis blocks it and then, showing his old guard abilities, finds PJ Washington on the break for a rather easy dunk. Definitely feel like we're going to see more of the playmaker Anthony Davis on this team, as we haven't really seen that as much in LA, but it was something that he really displayed in his Pelicans days. And this team's going to need the playmaking help because Kyrie is no Luka. Right here, we just have a pretty basic post-up and short fadeaway by Anthony Davis. He's just like, I'm bigger than you and I can make that shot. Typical Anthony Davis stuff. Right here, he backs Tari Eason down in the post all the way from outside the three-point line, and he's just able to get the hook shot over him. They're kind of going with this big wing thing on him because obviously there's also another center on the floor, but I feel like you should put the big wing on Daniel Gafford because Anthony Davis is just going to continue to feast on matchups like this, and that's your hope if you're the Mavericks. This shot right here, Anthony Davis misses, but follows it back with his own dunk. This was a crazy start, all right? This is the first 5 minutes of the game where all of this has gone down, and Anthony Davis has been looking like a top 5 player in basketball right out of the gate. Definitely making a strong impression for Dallas. I know Nico Harrison had a big old grin on his face at this point in the game. Now, just to prove how hot he truly is, Anthony Davis is going to get a step-back 3 off of a screen from Daniel Gafford. That's not something you see from him every day. All right, finally a possession for me to be a hater about. This is what we are trading the brilliance of Luka Doncic for. It's a lot more stuff like this shot right here, which is a very makeable look for Kyrie. Kyrie has made a shot like that his entire damn career. However, if that is going to be a shot that you're very comfortable with and saying this is what our offense is going to be, the offense is going to fall off rather significantly by contrast to a Luka who's going to get downhill, get in the paint. He still takes mid-range jumpers, don't get me wrong, but the lack of options from your lead ball handler is going to be readily apparent really soon. And Kyrie had a bad game here, hasn't really had, he did have a 40-point game recently, so it's not like he's, Kyrie's good. He's not going to have bad games consistently, but you're not going to get anywhere near the on-ball juice that you used to have. Right here, we have Anthony Davis just being dominant as a paint defender, able to stop that shot on Sengun, offensive rebound, might have even blocked that one, and then he corrals the rebound, knocking it out of Sengun's hands. And right here, we have a really nice steal and save from Najee Marshall, who's one of my favorite players on this Mavericks team, which leads to a transition 3 out of the corner for Max Christie, a good pass by Dante Exum on that possession. Moving on to quarter number 2 here, and we have a really great defensive sequence. A block by Daniel Gafford at the rim. First, the miss from Christie. Then the drive from Shepherd. Misses that one. Shepherd grabs his own offensive rebound. Where's the damn block? Okay, here it is. Blocks the shit out of Tari Eason's offensive rebound, and then a super ambitious pull-up 3 from Klay Thompson on the break. I definitely feel as though if the Mavericks are going to be good, they're going to need more stuff like this from Klay Thompson. Just being like, you might not have any on-ball creation juice, but you can still hit some ridiculous shots like that from time to time. Once again, we have a defense to offense play. This time, Anthony Davis blocking this attempt from Jalen Green, who tried to scoop it inside. Tried to protect with the body, but it did not end up working. Okay, well, the transition play was not in the clip, but Spencer Dinwiddie did get a 3-pointer out of the corner right after this. Right here, we have a perfectly executed pick and roll with Kyrie and AD. Not really a pick and roll because, Jalen Green barely makes contact with Anthony Davis, but it's enough to create the space, enough to cause the help defense, and enough for Kyrie to find AD for the very easy lob. He can at the very least make a read like that. Amen Thompson is allowed to get back-to-back alley-oops out of the corner, which is definitely not the best. So weak side help there, all of the defense being reliant on Anthony Davis, especially when there is no other big on the floor. Not the best look right there. This play right here, we see some on-ball creation juice from Max Christie, who's had a couple of possessions like this in a Dallas uniform, but gets the step-back midi over Jalen Green. Very clean look right there. This possession, I want to highlight some of the negatives. Just a really rough drive with absolutely no spacing right there because Dylan Brooks has no qualms helping out on Dante Exum out of the corner, and just an ugly, ugly drive right there. Dallas couldn't really score at all to open the third quarter, so they allowed Houston to close the gap rather significantly, and Dallas just ends up having to go back to Anthony Davis at the 5 as a response because, as you see out here, we got Steven Adams and Sengun on the floor, and that ended up neutralizing a lot of the double big stuff, so we got more Anthony Davis in the game at the 5. Najee Marshall on this possession, this is a second, or this I guess is his first three-pointer, and then he's going to get a second one here in a second. This guy is a baller, one of my favorite players on the team, as I highlighted earlier. Way more offensive punch than you would think. He's having a career high point per game season, even though his three ball has kind of fallen off a little bit. And right here we have Kyrie as a lead ball handler making a really impressive pass off of the bounce to a wide open Max Christie for a catch and shoot 3. So good read right there by Kyrie Irving. I can give him that. Unfortunately, Anthony Davis would not play during the fourth quarter as he had some sort of groin injury. I don't know the exact extent of it, but there is a little bit of an elephant in the room as a result of that injury. But again, we will acknowledge that elephant in just a second. Let's first just talk about what stood out to me in this Houston game. Maybe not the most important thing, but the first thing that I did notice immediately is the limitations of the double big lineups. Dallas went scoreless for a huge stretch in the third quarter as a result of that. Spacing just was not optimized, and yeah, that's kind of the negative that comes with it. You're going to get some dominant interior scoring at times, but you're also going to limit some driving lanes for your wings. You know, your guys who are just creating off of the catch. It's not going to be as easy for them when there is not one but two big men waiting for them in the paint. You know, you'll have the lob target option on the drive, so you have a lot of vertical spacing available, but at a certain point, if there's enough bodies in the paint, that's not going to end up working out for you. Defense overall was great, especially with those double big lineups. So you're obviously trying to take the approach of we're good enough defensively to mitigate some of the offensive negatives that come with this. Anthony Davis looked really good as a three-point shooter when he played for Dallas. He went 2 for 2 in this game. Very small sample size. Anthony Davis is historically not much of a three-point shooter, so I'm not expecting that to be an important factor at all. One way or the other, Anthony Davis is operating inside the three-point line 9 times out of 10, so the spacing thing is going to be a thing to watch. I think the shooting on the team outside of those guys is pretty solid, especially Kyrie Irving and Max Christie both being high volume, high percentage catch and shoot guys. But the spacing will definitely have its issues at times. You'll also have issues with just in general, especially with no Luka there. You're just not going to have available easy shots created at such a high volume. The thing about Luka Doncic's play style, whether he's creating a shot for himself or his teammate, he is so consistently generating a really clean look because almost all of the shots that Luka takes are statistically very efficient for him. One of the best finishers in the league, really good at getting to the free throw line. So anytime he drives, good things happen. He's also statistically one of the better mid-range shooters in the entire league. So even when he is taking the least efficient shot that he has available to him, it's still like a 1 point per possession shot. And then his off-the-ball three-point shooting. Sometimes he can get a little bit overzealous with them. Sometimes he can have stretches where those shots are not going in. But as a whole, it is still a very, very good, tangibly reliable weapon. Now, you're relying on Kyrie Irving to do a lot more shot creation, a lot more in general creating the offense, but he has more limitations. Kyrie is not nearly as good getting to the basket, and he's especially not going to be nearly as good when he has double bigs on the floor. Kyrie Irving is known for his like jelly layup packages, his ability to just do these crazy finishes, but the reality is those finishes are him avoiding contact. Kyrie Irving is historically a player who very actively avoids getting contact, and that is free, easy points on the board that this team is no longer going to have available. You might have Anthony Davis on the floor, who's also going to generate free throws, so maybe you can say between the two of them, you're making up for that lack of Luka, but one way or the other, it's just not going to be as easy as it was. And that's the thing that I keep coming back to, is the ease in which the Mavericks offense worked before this versus how it's going to look now is dramatically different. Houston's a good defensive team, and they looked good offensively for stretches in this game, but I don't know that Anthony Davis is going to be able to bring the pain to the extent that he did in the first half of this game with the regularity you need him to in order to make up this difference. He's especially not going to do it as much as you need him to when he's literally not even in the game. Kyrie is just limited as a creator. He didn't do anything out of character, but he had more of the focus of the perimeter defense. Life is going to be harder for him now, and I think Kyrie has proved that he is just better as the second creator. There is less pressure on him to be a playmaker. It allows him to be more comfortably a score-first guy. Back when he was in Brooklyn, he had James Harden doing that. When he was in Dallas, he had Luka doing that. When he was in Cleveland, he had LeBron doing that. He had his brief stint in Boston where he was the lead creator, and while that team was still good in the regular season, the limitations of that were exposed in the postseason when he actually did get to play in the postseason, and obviously there's a whole bunch of other drama that led to that going the way that it did. But my overarching point, Kyrie is meant to be a secondary creator. He's being asked to be the primary one, and I just don't know how that's going to work out for Dallas. Moving on from that, there were many times where the offense was sagging in a way that Luka would just usually pick it up with some crazy shot or like a really effective pass from on an angle that like 95% of players wouldn't even see, much less try. I just keep coming back to it. I will say there is more creation on this team than I initially thought. Najee came out of the gate scoring really well. It comes to the point where it really feels like he is primarily a scorer more than even the defense and playmaking aspect that he brings to the table. Ideally, his three-point shot improves. Klay was good in this game, and I think maybe you can have this idea of Klay will do more now, so it'll make up that difference. I just don't like how we're trying to stretch these players that were in previously defined roles that they were very comfortable in, that they were very clearly built to exist within, and then now we're asking them to do more. Max Christie has actually embraced the doing a little bit more stuff, and that's been going well for him, so maybe that'll translate to somebody else, but I'm still just failing to see it coming together. And then, of course, Anthony Davis potentially out indefinitely. Daniel Gafford just went out with a 6-week injury. I believe that Derek Lively is potentially out for the rest of the season. At the very least, he is also going to be out for a prolonged period of time. And even fucking Dwight Powell has some sort of lingering injury right now, so he's not even available. Dallas literally does not have a real center option. I can't remember the guy that they played in a recent game. Was it Carson Edwards? Not Carson Edwards. It was a guy who I was like, oh, so you just brought that guy in who was never supposed to play, and he was literally starting. So the big man situation, which should be Dallas's strength, Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, Anthony Davis, it is the best three big trio in the entire NBA. It's not even close, but they're not available. And if they're not available in a Western Conference that is really, really competitive all the way through it, there is a chance that the Mavericks just straight up miss the playoffs altogether. And they went from a team that, while they were not favored in the Western Conference, were definitely expected to, at the very least, be very competitive in it. They went from that team to potentially missing the playoffs altogether. Now, they can have an off season of retooling, and they can say, we'll get a season of a healthy Anthony Davis, and Nico Harrison will look like a genius. But my guess is the injury stuff is going to continue to happen, which is ironic because Luka Doncic does not have that issue to the extent that AD does, or at least Luka is very prone to play through injuries, which has its negative side effects, but it's also the reason they got to the NBA Finals at all in the first place, the reason they looked remotely competitive in the NBA Finals at any point in the first place. If you don't have your guys, you don't have your guys, and it's not going to work. It's as simple as that. That is the end of the conversation. Regardless of what the basketball could hypothetically look like on the floor, you don't win games with hypothetical basketball. You win it with what you actually have available. And if what you have available isn't going to win it, then you don't win it with what you have available. So this is already embarrassing. This is already looking like it could be a disastrous season for Dallas, and that's just scratching the surface of what this could end up looking like, because Kyrie Irving is a free agent after this next season, I believe, and it wouldn't shock me at all if he was like, I came to Dallas to play with Luka Doncic, and then you traded him. I think Kyrie was at peace with the fact that he's just not built to be the lead creator on a team. And now he is right back in that role at a much older age where he's trying to compete for and win another championship before his career is over with. He very clearly believed they could do that with Luka Doncic. If he doesn't believe, if they can't even make the fucking postseason with Anthony Davis, how long is he going to be bought into that idea? Probably not very long, would be my guess. So Dallas is in an ugly situation. I'm not breaking new ground by saying that, but my God, I didn't expect it to be this embarrassing this fast. Even if Anthony Davis does end up playing more for Dallas this year, I just don't see them getting in a swing of things in a way where they can be really competitive out of the gate. And an offseason of retooling will be nice, but I don't think, again, it will be enough. And then at that point, we're talking about you losing both Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis, probably, your entire fucking team blowing up, and then you go into a rebuild. How's that going to look, Nico Harrison? How's that going to look? The answer is bad, in case you weren't aware, because I do feel the need to clarify obvious things when I'm talking directly to Nico Harrison, because clearly the word obvious is not in the man's dictionary. But yeah, with that said, man, I don't even know what that said. Sorry, Dallas Mavericks fans. Are you even still around at this point? Why would you be? Those couple of minutes with AD were fun. I liked it. I liked it when it was working for a second, but it was really just a second. It was literally a first half. You have a first half to hold on to right now, and that's rough. That is very rough. But yeah, that's it. Go check out Little Rusty Buckets. This is now Rusty Buckets. The main channel is Deep Dive with Rusty Buckets. I'll see you guys later. Bye.